Well, people have often told me that Pittersplatter has its own sound, and they wonder how, they wonder if I'm like intentionally doing something to give it its own sound, and I'm really not. The only thing I'm doing is recording it and making the music in a more organic way, because I learned how to record music in a metal band, and I had nobody teach me how to record music in an electronic setting. So I brought those very basic recording techniques from metal band over to Pittersplatter. And there's some reviewers out there who review industrial music and stuff, because that's, I guess, the best umbrella Pittersplatter can really kind of fit under, I think, the whole industrial thing. And they have commented that our music's good and it's melodic and yada yada. But they've also said that, the mix is really good. It's a really good mix, but it's not as polished as it should be. And the reason why is because that's boring as shit to me. I want the music to be flawed because I want it to have a more organic element. And fitting an organic feel into electronic music is a hard thing to do. I think the reason why I do it is because my music is not 90% done on a PC. It's maybe 30% done on a PC, and the rest of it's done with actual hardware. I use a PC as I'm an old school. I do things old school. I use a PC as a kind of a glorified drum machine, because I started out with something like a Boss 808 or something like that, a drum machine. I use the PC as kind of a glorified step sequencer drum machine. But then I record all the melodies and stuff like that. I record that live over that very basic kind of drum track. So my PC is a glorified metronome when it comes down to it. So whenever I'm playing something and one of the notes I hit is a half step off, that's just what it is. Sometimes I re-record it to get it perfect. Sometimes I leave it in there because I really want it to have that human element to it. I come from a black metal background. A lot of the early black metal bands I listened to are bands like Burzum and things like that, to where the recording quality was crap on those albums, but that was part of the experience. And so I kind of have those sensibilities with Pittersplatter in a way. And there's a lot of bands in the industrial scene, what it is now. It's not a counterfeit EBM scene. And they sound like fucking evil karaoke machines with bad impressions that Danny Felth screamed over top of it. And it's because it's all done through MIDI. It's all beat mapped and it's all perfect, and there's no air behind it at all. And it's just too perfect. I don't like things that are too perfect. I like my women flawed. I like my music flawed, because that's what gives it a very alive, organic element.
Let's talk a little bit about, we've talked a little bit about your appearance and your sound, but let's go back to something just as simple as, tell me about the Pittersplatter name. Why choose that name?
When I played with a couple of names when I first started Pittersplatter, there was, I think, I'm not going to say, I don't want anybody else to take those names that I didn't combine. I sit down, I create what I decide, what goes on in my head that sounds awesome is what happens on an album, especially these days. And so I wanted the name to come from that same place. I didn't want it to be something, you look at dark electronic bands or industrial, whatever you want to fucking call them, and they all are like, all the names have to deal with some kind of militaristic tyranny with 8 numbers behind it. Every goddamn band sounds like, Z28 4000 Nazi or some stupid shit like that.
Right.
And it gets repetitive. And I didn't really set out to make Pittersplatter an industrial band. I set out to make Pittersplatter just an electronic project. So I wanted, to conjure a name out of thin air that was just kind of based just out of my own pure creativity in my head.
Do you ever have people tell you what they think the name means to them?
Well, somewhat, and I've heard a lot of stories, but I've also kind of added to that because I've done different interviews and people have always asked that question, and I've always changed my answer for where the name comes from.
Right.
But in all honesty, it just comes from my pure creativity. There is dead children involved in that because I don't know why, but I was watching a show about people having kids, and somebody had said something about the pitter patter of little feet. And the first thing that came into my mind was this kid running down a hallway and inexplicably exploding. So pitter patter became Pittersplatter, and I don't know why. That's just what entered my head. So.
But do you think that, obviously that was an early inspiration, just a sound that came into your head? Do you feel it means a lot more to you now?
It does.
Yeah.
The meaning has changed over the years. It's become, like I said, it was born out of pure creative expression, and I think just in the fact that it was born out of creative expression, it's become something to where, like the music, people can take it and apply their own meanings to it for their own lives and their own situations, because that's what Pittersplatter is all about.